If I gave you guys $25,000 to buy the best, fastest, coolest sports car you could think of, a lot of you would overlook the C6 Corvette, and that would be a mistake. I've owned one, lived with one, and driven one for a little while now, and there's a lot of things they don't tell you, or a lot of things you don't know until you have the keys in your hand. Some of the things are great, some of them are frustrating, and some of them surprised me, but that's why in this video I'm giving you 5 things that you might not know until you actually own a C6 Corvette. If you're considering buying a C6 Corvette, you definitely want to tune into this one. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is going to be the ride height of this car. This is something that new C6 Corvette owners are going to learn the hard way very early on. You can see the car, you can see it's pretty low. That aids in it being aerodynamic and it being a performance bargain, which we will talk about later in this video. And it's definitely a fun car to drive. But when you're driving this car day in and day out, you'll start to realize that when you're backing out of a driveway or going over a speed bump, man, you really scrape the front end of this car. I don't even have a lip on the front of this car, and I scrape the car like crazy just doing daily driving. It's something you have to keep in mind and pay attention to. So a lot of times, especially with newer cars like the C8 Corvette, there's an option you can get where you can automatically raise the suspension and it can memorize locations like your house. That's very convenient. I wish they had it for this car as an option, and I wish my car had it, but it does not. The other thing is getting in and out of the car is a little bit of a pain. It's very, very low to the ground. I'm about 6'1", 230 pounds, and it definitely is an activity. It's a workout coming in and out of the car. If you're an older gentleman or an older person with some back problems or some knee problems, it might be a process getting in this car. Once you're in, you're gonna have a great time and you're gonna be very thrilled, but then getting back out is gonna be an issue. So I know I'm talking about the first thing in sort of a negative way. So let's move on to thing number 2. That's gonna be the affordability of this car, something positive. This car is very cheap at the moment. Now, my particular car is a 2005, so at this point it's 2026. It's a 20-plus-year-old car, so that would sort of make sense. But a lot of these Corvettes, they really hold their value well for a long period of time, but you can find some higher mileage, maybe not so clean examples of this car for closer to $15,000. And I think every aspect of the car is affordable, like aftermarket parts, repairs. Like I said, the cost of the car itself, insurance, it's a very reasonable car. For the price of a used Camry, you can get yourself a naturally aspirated V8 making 400 horsepower sports car that's gonna sound great and be so much fun. And overall, I just think it's a great option for you. It goes back to when I started this video and I was just saying how a lot of people, if they had a $25,000 made up budget, they probably wouldn't consider this car, wouldn't think about this car if they're thinking about getting a sports car, but I think it's a very, very valuable option because of the price in all aspects. Thing number 3 is going to be the fact that this car is way more practical than you can expect, specifically the cargo space on this car. You can haul groceries, luggage, and the visibility isn't so bad. I know people joke around about that a Corvette just has enough space for some golf clubs. That's hilarious, but at the same time, I did just take this car on a 1,200-mile road trip. I put suitcases, backpacks, a bunch of things in the trunk, and like I said, without ruining the rear visibility of the car, I was able to drive it very, very comfortably, and it's nice knowing you have the space to do things. I probably put more things or haul more things in this car than most people do in their SUV on a day-to-day basis, and it's super nice. Obviously, you only have the 2 seats, and then you have the trunk, but knowing that you have that back there and it's quite large, it's important, and it's something to keep in mind on the day-to-day. I feel like a lot of the people considering buying a C6 Corvette or a Corvette in general, they might say, oh, there's not going to be enough space to do things. It's just going to be a weekend car that I can't really can't put another person in, or I can't put a bunch of things in the back without it being so tight. That's not really the case, and I've experienced that day to day over the last 3+ years of owning this car. Now, if you thought buying a 20-year-old car would just help you blend in with the rest of the crowd on the road, you'd be wrong. Reason number 4 is going to be how much attention this car gets. Nobody really tells you, especially in a color like this bright yellow. It's going to catch people's eyes, but I notice every time I go to the gas station, the constant compliments, thumbs up, looks you're going to get, and conversation starters, really, especially when you go to like car meets and things like that. Sort of goes without saying, because if you bring a Corvette to a car meet, people are going to engage with you, but even just on a day-to-day, people are going to interact with you or want to interact with you because of this car for good or for bad. So you got to keep that in mind when you're considering buying a car like this, buying a C6 Corvette. People are going to be looking at it, even though it's an older car. I feel like the aesthetic of the car over time has aged very well. It looks very modern. I mentioned this in a couple videos, but I think if you told someone that this C6 Corvette, even though it's over 20 years old, and I understand the 2005 to 2013, every single year is going to look very, very similar because it's the same generation, but but knowing this car's over 20 years old, if you told them that this was the new model, this was the new Corvette that came out, if they didn't know much about cars, they might fall for it. They might think that it really is something newer, which sort of means absolutely nothing, that in my pretend scenario, somebody may or may not believe that this is a new car. But I'm just trying to explain the point that this car does look very modern, but it does have that classic look to it. You kind of get the best of both worlds. And me, as somebody who just thinks the C6 Corvette is the best looking Corvette of all time, probably, I definitely wanted to mention how much I enjoy the aesthetic and why I think that plays into the attention the car gets on a day-to-day basis. Last thing I want to talk about is this car has 400 horsepower, and it's going to feel a lot faster when you're in the car than it does sound on paper. Thing number 5 is going to be just the experience that you get driving this car, and specifically how fast this car really feels. It has 400 pound-feet of torque as well. It really puts you back in your seat. I also think the low seating of the car plays a role in how fast it really feels, and depending on the exhaust that you have, if you have an aftermarket exhaust, the V8 can get real loud, it sounds real nice, and maybe it just gets the adrenaline rushing so the car feels faster than it really is, even though the performance numbers of the base model, I'll put it up on the screen, they are very impressive, but I do feel like the car feels a little bit better than that when you're actually driving it. You have to find out yourself if you end up buying one, but I feel like most people would come back with that conclusion after riding in one. Even after owning it for 3+ years, I get the same feeling every single time I hit the gas. Feels real nice. It's real fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's 5 things they don't tell you about owning a C6 Corvette that I've gotten the pleasure of getting to know during my ownership of this vehicle. If you like Corvette content, weekly videos, subscribe to the channel, like the video, I would appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Peace.